Hello everybody, this is Nathan on Shuffle, and I wanted to post a video here kind of as an introduction to this channel and give a quick overview of some vinyls that I've received over this year so far. So first, as kind of an introduction to the channel of what I'm trying to do here, I plan to focus mostly on music, but there may be other forms of media as well that's featured. I want to foster a culture of positivity. I want to share the music that I love with everybody. I love so much about music. I feel like there's such great music coming out today that I want to be able to share it with people and to be able to recommend things that I think are really great. Kind of let you guys in on my musical journey, because I'm still exploring artists and still looking at things and going backwards into rock and music history and trying to find bands that I may have missed and just put more of a focus on all types of music. So I'm just really excited to be able to share this as kind of a start to give you an idea of my musical taste, kind of my musical journey. When I was young, my dad was really into the Beatles. That's where I got started. My dad gave me the collections of the red and blue albums by the Beatles, kind of all their greatest hits, essentially, in a compilation. And I played those CDs to death. I really fell in love with that music. I thought it was amazing. And as I got a little older, through like my early to mid-teens and so forth, I really got into kind of, on one hand, classic rock, which a lot of my friends at the time were into, but also a lot of alternative rock of the era, which this was like late 90s, early 2000s. I was really getting into alternative music, and what really jump-started that for me was a band called Incubus that I really fell in love with and really thought they were great. And that was the first modern band where I had to go get all their albums when I heard some of their music instead of just liking some of the songs on the radio. And so it was kind of a transformative experience. Then my dad, seeing that I was getting so much into music and was kind of sharing things with him that I was finding, wanted to show me prog music, which was what he grew up with, progressive rock. He showed me Yes and Genesis and Gentle Giant were his like top 3 favorite bands. And I just fell in love almost immediately with this music. It was everything I was looking for. It was just super exciting and adventurous and took me on a journey. And that's what I like in my music. I love the epic pieces. I love the focus on instrumentation and virtuosity. There was a lot to love there, and also a lot of emotion and a lot of heart. And hearing that music and being so obsessed, there was kind of an end point. You know, my dad showed me pretty much all the albums that he knew, and it got me thinking, is there something modern? Is there modern music that kind of carries this balance of this older progressive rock spirit, but also some modern production and maybe some influences from the alternative and more metal music that I was listening to at the time? I went online and downloaded a bunch of tracks. Really, I came across the band Transatlantic, and when I saw that they were a super group comprised of members of 4 different bands, I downloaded a song from each of the bands and a song from Transatlantic as kind of a taster to see what I would appreciate there. And so it kind of led me down this path towards progressive rock, towards modern progressive rock. I loved Spock's Beard and Flower Kings right off the bat once I heard them in that little make sampler. So I got obsessed with modern rock, modern progressive rock. I went far down that rabbit hole, and that's been kind of my obsession mainly. But I've been trying the last couple of years to get more into a variety of different things and back into kind of indie and alternative rock music and into even some pop music, and trying to go backwards and kind of pick up on the music I missed even way back from like the 70s and onward, as you'll see in some of these vinyl records I want to showcase. So that's kind of my journey and kind of a mission statement for this channel as well, that I'm on this path of music discovery. I mainly focus on progressive rock because that's my main love, and that'll be the main type of music you'll see. But I'm also trying to branch out a bit more and get into different forms of music, you know, get into some of the alternative modern rock that's coming out, and some even pop music is interesting to me, what's going on in that genre. and also delving backwards into classic rock. So I'm hoping to showcase a bunch, and maybe even hopefully get comments and recommendations from viewers as well, to really open up my mind and expand on things. And so I want to focus on the positive, focus on music that I love. I'm not going to express criticisms. I'm only going to show albums that I really am a big fan of, and that's where I want to focus. So this channel will focus on music that I love. We'll focus on music recommendations, music discovery, and trying to expand my taste a bit, and also focus on vinyl, because I've really gotten into records and vinyl in the past couple years, and so I'm really trying to beef up my collection a little bit. And it's reignited kind of an excitement for collecting music. So I'm going to feature some records here that I've gotten over this year to give you a kind of a sampler maybe of my tastes, and kind of catch us up to the present day for this year in music so far. So first I'm going to feature some new albums, some albums that are new releases that have come out, and of course these are in the prog realm. This first one is Steven Wilson. This is The Future Bites, his new album that came out this year. It was delayed quite a bit because of the pandemic. It was supposed to come out last year, but it came out this year at the beginning of the year, and I really love it. I know there's some people that talk about not liking his direction, that he's going in a more pop type of direction and so forth, but to me, I still feel Steven Wilson's influence. He's still the same artist that I have been in love with all these years, and so there's no change in my perspective. I think he's still doing the same great music, but he's putting more different kinds of influences, more electronica and more kind of pop influences from 80s records that he likes. And I think it's sonically just really a masterful album. Just the production levels are insane. He's just such a master at what he does in that level. Some of what he does with the remixing albums and so forth. And so it just sounds really great. I love all these tracks. Personally, I really love 12 Things I Forgot. I think it's kind of early Porcupine Tree, Lightbulb Sun kind of era sounds. So that's kind of a cool throwback. But a lot of great pop kind of centric stuff. There's Personal Shopper, which is kind of the epic of the album, that even features a spoken word section by Elton John. And I just really like the messaging about consumer culture and all that kind of stuff. I think it's really, really cool. And I have here a cool colored vinyl, a red vinyl, that I want to showcase real briefly here. And so here's the red vinyl that's really a great color. I really like the colored vinyl. I know some people find it kind of gimmicky, but I just find it really fun and kind of adds to the packaging and all those elements. So that is my first showcase, is Steven Wilson and The Future Bites. Next I have Transatlantic, The Absolute Universe. If you follow this channel and listen to me, you're going to find out that I'm a huge Neil Morse fanatic. He's my favorite artist of all time. I think he's brilliant. I love his songwriting. I love all the work he's done solo with Spock's Beard, with Transatlantic. I just think he's a brilliant artist, and I just completely adore his music. And this is no exception. I think Transatlantic is amazing. It's a super group, of course, comprising of Neil Morse, Mike Portnoy, Peter Wavas, and Roy Stolt. And as I mentioned in the introduction, this is the band that got me into modern prog, that kind of like put my love of music on another level. And I think this is just another amazing addition to their catalog. It's really an ambitious project. It's 2 albums in one, essentially. They did 2 versions of the album, an abridged version and a longer version. It's really remarkably done. I think it's expert musicianship. The songwriting is really strong. The melodies are great. It's catchy, but it's adventurous and fun, and it has all the signature staples of all these artists. It's just a great culmination of everything these artists do well. And so I really appreciate it for that. I think it's just an amazing record that I've been totally loving this year and can't get enough of. And this is the ultimate package that combines both versions of the album, adds a 5.1 Blu-ray mix, which is amazing, and is just really a great package and something I'm proud to have in my collection. This third album is maybe a bit more obscure, but it's still incredible music. And I've been hearing about it kind of on different prog sites. A lot of people are catching on to this record. The band is called Mir, and they're a Norwegian band, and it's really cool what they do here. It kind of blends a lot of interesting elements. There's prog for sure, but there's kind of some, chamber pop on play here, and some more modern kind of almost alternative rock sounds, indie rock kind of vibe. I really like the mixture of things that are going on here. There's cool instrumentation, there's some violin, there's different things that really make this unique and special in my mind. And there's the vocalists are incredible. There's kind of female and male vocals, and they're both great singers. I really love this album. I think it's one of the best of the year so far. Something that immediately when I first heard it really struck me. And that's one of my favorite things, is just discovering a new band and just being really excited about them. And this is a band I'm excited about, and hope some of you out there will check out, because I think it's really strong and ticks all the boxes for me, at least, for strong songwriting, great track list, great tracks. Picking Up the Pieces is an incredible track, as well as Beehive. Honey is one I like a lot. So it's just a really strong record with great melodies, great instrumentation, some epic feel to it. I can't recommend this enough. I think it's one of the best records of the year so far. Those are basically the new albums that have come out over this past few months that I've been most interested in. Now I'm going to talk about a few reissues, some albums that I've received that came out a while back but are being reissued on vinyl. So the first one I have here is Riverside. Out of Myself is the name of the record. Came out in 2003 and reissued this year on vinyl. I think this is a super strong record. Riverside is one of my favorite groups. I think they're amazing in all respects. They kind of do a prog metal vibe. This is their very first record, a debut album from them. It starts a trilogy of albums that kind of tells a unique story, and I think they're stars in the progressive metal genre. And they're not. This album especially isn't super heavy. It's kind of almost Pink Floyd-esque in spots. They have songs that are more pop centric, that have kind of sweeter melodies, but then they can rock as well in certain places, especially the Reality Dream sections. Really great stuff. I really love this band. I think they're one of the best out there in the progressive field, from Poland. Just a really amazing group that everyone should know who likes this kind of prog music. Along that same vein, we also have Haken, who are another amazing progressive metal group that's come out in the past, decade or so. This is The Mountain, one of my favorite all-time records. Haken is such a cool band because they have kind of this progressive metal style, but they also have a lot of different influences as well. They have a lot of quirky things going on in the mix. They have a lot of instrumentals that are just really, really fun and work out different parts of the band. There's progginess, there's heaviness, there's, some really beautiful sections and melodies. There's jazzy sections. It runs the gamut of a lot of different things, and I think it's really super strong and amazing. So I'm really into this record. I think it's really a great one and definitely worth checking out. I love The Cockroach King is just kind of a classic to me. Has Gentle Giant type sections and vocals. I love Ross Jennings as a vocalist. I think he's just top tier amazing. And of course, Falling Back to Earth is one of my favorite tracks from the band. Just an epic track that runs the gamut. It's just really amazing music and really strong, and definitely highly recommended. I think this is one of the best records out there, and it was reissued this year, as well as this record, Haken's Affinity, which came out after The Mountain. More of kind of an 80s inspired affair, but really strong as well. It has 1985 and The Architect are two standouts to me. I just think this is just as good as The Mountain. It has the same strengths. They really are able, I feel like they kind of move towards kind of a heavier direction here. I think that's progressively happening throughout their progress as a band. Their first couple albums are a lot more proggy, and these albums they're starting to lean into metal a bit more, but the prog's still there. And then their latest two records, they're really embracing the prog metal in a huge way, the heavier sound. But it's all really strong. They're excellent writers. They're excellent musicians, just next level, amazing at their instruments. And there's so many great sections and so many great things going on that I strongly recommend this as well. Another great reissue this year. And both of these are, in fact, on colored vinyl. So another kind of cool piece of the story here. I really love that. This one has a red vinyl to it. I'll showcase that real briefly. So we've got red vinyl for that. And then the mountain is on brown, which I think fits really well with the cover. So that's kind of what I like the most, is when the color of the vinyl matches the album artwork. I think that's a really cool touch and really makes it kind of a special package. So that's one thing I'm really looking for. All right, so the next section I kind of wanted to get into is a project I'm working on. I'm trying to acquire records that are considered classics in music, basically mostly within rock, a little bit within pop and soul, R&B kind of stuff, but mostly rock-centric. I've been watching a lot of YouTube channels and a lot of other people talk about their vinyl collections and all the records that they have. And it's gotten me a little bit jealous that I don't have a good base of some of these classics. I have a lot of modern prog. That's kind of my bread and butter. That's the music I appreciate. But I don't have a lot of the older stuff. So I'm trying to slowly get it and kind of making a bit of a project out of it, exploring these bands as I come across them. So I've done it for 2 months now. So I have 2 albums to show, new albums that I bought that are actually old albums. The first is this one, Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys. I heard so much great things about it. I know, of course, the Beach Boys' big hits, you know, the Surfin' Safari and Fun, 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 and those types, which are really fun. But I heard so much about how this is such an artistically amazing record and really strong, and I had to listen. I had to get it for myself. And I agree, it's really amazing. It's an album that really began a movement of caring about albums and their format and really crafting something that was really special instead of just having hit singles. You know, this works as a full album. There's a lot that goes into this, a lot of experimentation for the time, just a lot of really great stuff, and it just fits together well as an album. And so I really love this. The singles are strong as well. Wouldn't It Be Nice and God Only Knows are 2 of their best songs. Really, this to me contains all their best music. I've been trying to get into some of their more recent stuff, and I can appreciate it. I know why people love it. There's really great stuff there, but to me this stands out a bit as their best, and I really love the music here. So this was the first in my Defining Albums project from 1966. Second in the project, of course, was the Beatles, which isn't new to me, but I haven't collected their albums on vinyl yet. I have all their albums on CD from when I was a young kid, as I discussed at the beginning. I really fell in love with the band and love every record they have, but I know this is a big one that everyone points to as a classic that really maybe even influenced a lot of the artists that were big in the progressive rock genre. This is another one where they really focused on the album as a format. This really sticks together as a great album and has kind of a theme and something that carries it forward and has some of their greatest stuff on it. Sgt. Pepper's, the song, of course, A Day in the Life is just absolutely incredible. Just really a great record that deserves all the praise it gets from 1967. The Beatles just doesn't get much more classic than this. So that was kind of the start of that Defining Albums project. And I plan to do more of that and showcase those on this channel as I collect them. So that should be a fun project to discuss. And so that is it for this introductory video. I really had fun talking about these albums. I hope there was something interesting there for you guys. As I said earlier, I want to stress that I want this to be a positive channel to share things that people love, music recommendations, and things that are great. I want to keep to a minimum criticism and things of that nature. It's just not really what I'm about. I just want to share my love of music. So I hope you guys are all listening to some great music out there, and I plan to release some other great stuff coming shortly, so watch out for that. And this is Nathan on Shuffle.